Mr. Berisha, welcome to ALB UK television from London. You are known as one of the great leaders of Albania. You've been both President and Prime Minister in your time. So I would like to take you back in a very long career to a newspaper article I found out about you recently, which as a political person myself, I found fascinating. And the article was really saying that you were demanding, not asking for, demanding the remaining barriers of freedom of thought, freedom of travel, and abandoning the isolationism of foreign policy in your country. So was that a brave thing to say at that time? And what are your recollections of that time, please?
I think comparing other former communist countries to Albania, you will find that they were not dictatorship as compared to my country and my nation. Albania is the unique one with was the unique one with a triple dictatorship. The most monist one, that is a Stalinist oppression, a real Stalinist oppression, political oppression of people. Second, terrible misery and poverty. And third, isolation, which above all is a greenhouse for indoctrination.
Yes.
Under such conditions, I was a scholar, I was a researcher, I have had a very intensive scientific life, but step by step, I found myself that it comes a moment without a dignity, human dignity, you have no reason to continue. And everything that I did to become what a human being should be.
Yes.
To get my lost dignity. So was not an easy decision. In its own year, the dictatorship definitely got weak, but still it was killing almost every week young people in the borders trying to cross the border, even after they dropped the charge for treason, for high treason, leaving the country. So it was a regime very dictatorial one. But I decided whatever it will take, I'll tell my opinions, my thought. My ideas were, because coming from medical sciences,
yes,
were not so profound one, but I followed with great interest dissidents movements in other countries. My idol was Andrei Sakharov.
Really?
Yes. And why Sakharov? For two major reasons. First, Sakharov didn't came from politics. He came from technical science, like I was, not technical, but medicine.
Yes.
The same. Second, Sakharov impressed me. He never quit the country. And I was a man who had never thought to quit this country. So his bravery, fighting inside and not going out from other countries was an inspiring one for me. I followed him in every single demand that presented to Gorbachev or to Brezhnev. I followed everything that he did. He was my most inspiring person of that time. So, step by step, I started to ask, to demand the freedom of thoughts, the drop of censorship, the right for information. I started to ask freedom of movement and the getting out of isolation. On August the 10th, Ramiz Alia organized a meeting. He invited about 40 intellectuals. Among them, 3 or 4 we were people which were pronounced for things. And the aim of the meeting was to give us an admonition that change or you'll face, because he told openly that now international reaction is seeking officers and generals, that is top people,
yes,
in order to lead some ordinary people like they did in other countries. But he told, this never will happen and you must be clear, threatening. However, I was very, very well prepared to make my statement, and I got it from Sakharov. Sakharov asked from Gorbachev to drop the Article 6 of the Constitution, which article provided the Communist Party of Soviet Union the hegemonious role in the political life. This was the real article in which all the dictatorial establishment was based. And I was prepared. I told Mr. Alia, I asked to drop that article. He told, I understand what it means. I understand what it means. I asked the article to drop from the Constitution. And the party should have what it deserves by the people and not by the law and Constitution. So was my involvement. But I have to tell that I never thought that I would see it one day in freedom. No, because in overall opinions, Albania was somehow calculated to be left like Cuba of Adriatic. No a great interest was shown, and probably let them starve in their own socialism to show what socialism means. Probably wrong ideas from myself, but this was my ideas at the time. And I thought we're not going to get rid of this regime, but students did it. Once the students got in streets, I joined them.
Yes.
I joined them. We fought together then.
Can I just ask, what do you think about the students today then, and these recent issues that they're facing?
I think the students today initiated a real revolution. Why? If you ask me to qualify this regime, I definitely will qualify with all my consciousness a kakistocratic regime, a real kakistocracy. Why? Why? It's a regime based entirely on the links with the crime. It's a regime which planted voluntarily Albania from the very south to very north with cannabis, millions and millions, but it was done by the police. It's the regime which built here a real narcostate. Before you came in my office, I was reading information from citizens, and he was telling me how the chief of police of a northern district had freed a Serbian citizen which was catched in a very big heroin network. It was released by the police and he disappeared. He wrote me, the citizen, he wrote me how this head of police, together with the prosecutor, released a Nasser Gashi trafficant, a trafficker called Nasser Gashi from Kosovo. He disappeared. The network was the same, a big one, which in that small house was found, I think the purest form of heroin, by which the commercial you were able to produce almost a ton or something like. The second was released. But the problem is that the head of police got rewarded by the general director of police a few days ago for such a, that is, this is a narco state, really a narco state. And I'm very sad. It's, if you take these years, Albania needs, it's a vital need for foreign investors. We did enormous efforts to make the country more attractive. We succeeded in the peak of the crisis, 2008, 2012, to have more than 1 billion euro direct foreign investment. Was not that much, but we started from the crash. And we succeeded also to have some very big contracts like Trans-Adriatic Pipeline, which didn't start that time, started later, like Devil Cascade, like other investment. Since this government came, not a single serious foreign company has come to start the business in this country, because the psychology of these people is against direct foreign investment, is really against direct foreign investment. But this regime killed the hopes of these people. This is terrible. That is, there is no hope that people could do in this country. So, in the last 4 years, almost like in 91, 400,000 Albanians left Albania. In the last 4 years, 182,000 Albanians asked political asylum in EU member country and UK. September 16, 8,500 Albanians asked political asylum in Germany, whereas 2011, 2012, together, only 432 Albanians asked for asylum in Germany. This is why students were. The Prime Minister adopted a law which in first glance is a British model. Definitely British schools, to my assessment, are the best. But these schools are the best because they have a very heavy financial bill behind for each student and for families which they could cope with this bill. So Rama adopted, but adopted by deformating it. And very soon adopted also by favorizing private universities, turning private universities in public one, but allowing them working like they worked and favorizing them, sharing money with them, for no other reason than sharing money with them. So it comes that the fees in university doubled. They put some other penalties and the students reacted. Students are continuing. 2 weeks ago, he put police inside the facts and beat at students. He proposed some in order to intimidate and to make a witch hunt toward the professors, using the plagiatura, the fight against plagiatura. He drafted a law in which he created an extra university police on scientific research. Definitely I'm in favor of a fighting plagiatura, but autonomous institutions like university it's their duty, their obligation to organize it, but no other institution could be, otherwise it will be a big abuses. And now teachers are threatening to start a strike on February the 1st. So this is a very complicated, 2 times long. Albania lost the opening of negotiations with EU, and there is no progress because the Prime Minister cares more for his power than for standards required.
What would be your advice, obviously because you have a tremendous amount of experience in this field, what would be your advice to students right now?
My advice to students is I fully support their demands about dropping the law and drafting a new law. I fully support whatever problems that it creates, the academic freedom and the autonomy of university. But without them, there are no universities, are only party schools. And I think defending them, it's very, very, very crucial. However, what I tell them, that the main problem, the caput medusa, is Rama himself.
And I know your own party now is looking at diaspora plans in 2019. Can you just tell me a little bit about what your plans are?
I think our party, in my view, has to make a very serious program for a strong, dynamic cooperation with diaspora. First, a brain-gaining project will be crucial for this country. Fortunately, today, we have Albanians, many Albanians, very well placed, almost in all domains, and being in touch with them, inviting them, working with them for political purpose, scientific purpose, economical purpose, and all domains. This is an enormous potential that it must be activated, organized, utilized by the DP. I think it's a vital necessity in my view. And through this project, DP could make a real difference and could be a very ambitious in its own program. When I came in 2005, there have been only 2% people in my administration which have had scholarship abroad. It came up to 22% because I organized very aggressive brain gaining system and a system of excellence, sending Albanians for to qualify. Then most of them left. Most of them came in order to serve their own nation, their own country. But the new government showed no interest on them. Most of them went back, and as a matter of fact, the country was highly damaged.
Do you have a message, a personal message for Albanians in Britain?
I think for Albanians in Britain and wherever they are, they have to make whatever they could first to get rid from this kakistocratic regime and get their country free. Yesterday you have had a long paper in Independent by one of your colleagues which openly declared that this is a narcostate. And being a narcostate is the worst of the worst. That is, the decisions are done by drugs and drug dealers and not by... This is a terrible situation. But it's hope, even when hope means you have to create it, and we have to do every best, and diaspora could have its own role. They came, they protested, they came, a lot of them came and supported students, but working to get rid and thinking how to, because this is an extraordinary country. It's a small, but it's absolutely a country with extraordinary potentials for biggest investment, biggest developments and companies.
I agree.
It has extraordinary potentials. The problem is that you have to enforce rule of law. You have to respect competitiveness. You have to strengthen freedoms and not get weaker. So diaspora always was important to Albania. So hopefully it will be again and again.
Do you wish that more successful Albanians in the diaspora would come back as well and help your country?
Very much. I wish and I invite them to come, because first they bring their own investment, but they bring also their friends from UK, their friends from other countries. This is a very it's of great help for this country, and I hope that they will do.
And I know you had such a diverse career, apart from being president and prime minister, and that's an amazing career path anyway. You've also had a career in medicine at the same time. And I wonder, in retrospect, did politics give you a better boost in your life than medicine, or how did you see the balance between the two?
As regard to motivation, there is no difference. I was all my life a long day man. I had always a long day in research. I have my publication, even from that time in British Heart,
Really?
even opening British Heart with original papers. So I was very passionate. But of course, if you take truths as such, they have their own hierarchy. And in the hierarchy of truths, human rights and freedoms are the top of them. So my passion about when I started politics was extraordinary. Changing the country. Look, I came in 2005 as Prime Minister. Let's take where we have been 2005. 2005, this country have had only 4.8% internet penetration. We proclaimed that we'll bring Albania to digital age. We managed to bring it to 63%. That is still below the average of European Union, but the fastest growth. Or we have had in this country only 2,430 kilometers road paved. We paved more than 11,000. And that's Albania have a total different infrastructure now. We were the less preferred country on direct foreign investment. We become the most preferred country in the region for direct foreign investment because we improved enormously the business climate. We become the first country in the world to have full digital procurement, yes, and recognized by UN. We did enormous change in education. We were at 12 students per 1,000 people, whereas the average of European Union was 43, but we managed to go up to 50 with the policies that we followed. We are, the country was dominated when we came in power entirely by thugs and gangs everywhere making the law. In 18 months, we dealt with them, and more than 1,200 bosses and members of these criminal organizations were put to justice wherever they were, and we got the country quiet. So definitely reforms pay very, very much for people, and was a great passion for me.
Obviously, the heart and the heartbeat has reflected in both of your careers. How would you describe the heartbeat of Albanians? What makes that such a special person in the world?
I think Albanians are strong people. They are people of sacrifice. They have their minuses, of course, no doubt, but they are people of sacrifices and people of solidarity. That is, these people which accept to sacrifice for a better life, for a better future, and accept to, they have a family solidarity to sacrifice for each other, for members of family, which is a kind of giant insurance company for them. This is help them to progress. They have their own weaknesses, of course, but still the problem of Albanians is their history in freedom is a recent one. They have not a long tradition as a free nation, and we have to be patient.
And just taking you back again, the first ever American president, George Bush, came to visit Albania during when you were Prime Minister. How did you relate to someone like him, especially in politics?
I remain very, very grateful to President George W. Bush for his visit. Grateful for his messages. He brought two historical messages. First, full support to NATO membership of Albania. Second, full support of Kosovo independence. But I have to be also open that Bush the senior was a very dear friend of mine. He came twice to Albania as a former president, and I visited him in Houston as a president myself. So with Bushes, we have had a very warm relations, and President George W., with his two big decisions and messages, is marked in the history of this nation as one of the greatest supporters.
And I understand religion has played a very important part in your life. You're a very proud Muslim. How do you think all the religions seem to live together in a country like Albania?
The religion live together because if you enter in some ethnogenetic questions, like, for example, identity of Albanians. Identity of Albanians is not linked with religious, is non-religious one. When, for example, Edward Leek was a council of UK in 1804, visited the region. What he wrote? He wrote that here, as regard to identity, only Albanians talk about identity. But what was why only Albanians? Because he asked them, what means to you Albanian? And their response was, I speak Albanian. And we are Albanians wherever we speak Albanians. That is, the language was the pillar of our identity and not the religion. This is, the second is culture. And the culture is common for all and not the religion. And the third is Skanderbeg. Skanderbeg, its myth, as a matter of fact, was created by Western writers, Western historians, not by Albanians. But in the memory of Albanians, he managed to survive the Ottoman occupation, so and so. So he became almost a part of our identity. So, not now, but even centuries ago, Albanians told that the real religions of Albanians is that's called Albanism, is Shqiptaria, is Albanism. This is why, as a matter of fact, religions could not split. There is another. Our Renaissance, was late one, but was mostly by clergy people, by bishops, priests, mullahs. They were people which knew to read and to. All of them created books in like books. Probably they wrote also some religious, but never for public, only for their. An Albanian child grows up with, for example, with Bektashit, Frashëri's poems or Fishtas or bishops or Noli. So the culture is that is to tell you the culture is no, and curiously, whatever we have been, we never were a religious state. We were a kingdom, secular one, a dictatorship, secular one. When we founded as a state, secular one, and we continue. We never have been. It's a perfect tolerance.
Again, very close to your heart, your wife is president of the Albanian Children Foundation as well, which focuses on autism and Down syndrome. Has that impacted on your life? Have you found that really almost a combination between medical in one way and politics in another?
My wife is the president of a foundation founded by an airbrush, probably, Dominique Scaglione. Dominique Scaglione was a former vice president of Chase Manhattan and chairman of Albania American Enterprise Fund, decreed by President Clinton. So he founded this foundation, and then one day he asked my wife to be president. She works voluntarily as president of the foundation, but as she spent all her life until she retired with children, curiously, she started to show an extraordinary interest for autistic children, which at that time were in hiding in overall society. Imagine, in my medical faculty, although I was fond of psychiatry, I found not a case, no one showed us a case of autism. This is, yeah. And she started telling me that I will start with this problem because it's a real grave one. Definitely, I was not sure what she was telling me. That is a grave one. But step by step, she managed to make an excellent work as PR, finding parents and going to TV and telling other parents, so the syndrome get out of clandestinity, become a public problem. She was linked with a US top foundation, Autism Speaks. It's a US foundation, New York-based one for autism, and they provided an extraordinary help as regard to know-how to Albanian Children Foundation. So my wife opened a facility, a really modern one. They updated one. They considered Autism Speaks it as a regional center of autism. There, they care for children up to 8 years in one. They open a new one 8 to 14 years for elder children. They use the most advanced method, which are helped by this Autism Speaks. They qualify people, and now she managed to open branches in different towns in Albania, in different towns, from Kukës to Firi, Korça, Elbasan, etc. I definitely consider a very helpful work that she did. I regret that as Prime Minister, really I was not able to help because of conflict of interest. And I thought every attempt to help her will be proclaimed as conflict of interest, and I never helped her and this foundation. But later, after I left, the government, the opposite, did nothing to help. However, they survived. They organized some fundraisings time to time with organized yearly galas with this gentleman, a group, they came from New York. At the same time, business people as charity helped in the sense that business take themselves in charge, autistic children to pay for them, for families which could not. And it is working. It is keeping, I think it has been, there are real results. That is, earlier children join this unit, better they, and many of them go to schools. They have qualified so many other experts and specialists. I think she doing extremely helpful work and humanitarian one.
Excellent. Just one final short thought is, where do you want to see the future of Albania?
The future of Albania, I see it in EU. Always I worked for EU project. For EU, NATO project and EU project were my life projects, and every Albanian, I think. But now I am very upset about, because 2016, EU Commission recommended, member states rejected, member states were right, standards were not met, demands were not met. 2018, the same happened. Member state rejected. But if you look, 2019 is not better but worse, and I'm afraid very much that they will reject again. So I don't know where we... the Prime Minister had adopted a very wrong approach, not only ignoring standards, but to how to compensate. He is involved in a kind of statements and vocabularies, presenting an option. If we don't join Europe, we could join with Kosovo each other. A stupid option, because this is the way to stand, to left yourself in standby. No one in Europe prefer to import problems. He thinks that pressure, as a matter of fact, with this, his statement, his gesture, do the opposite. So it's not for granted. For the moment, I think it's a difficult time.
Mr. Berisha, I feel I've talked to a great statesman this afternoon. Can I thank you so much for your time?
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.